Welcome to Ear for Fear. I'm Donovan, and this is a podcast where we talk about scary movies and movies trying to be scary.
Hey, and I'm Rick, and today we're talking about 2015's Japanese zombie movie entitled "I Am a Hero." Before you and I chew on this one, let's do a quick rundown. When a virus overruns Tokyo, down and out manga assistant Hideo will do whatever it takes to survive the impending apocalypse from the undead. All right, man. So I Am a Hero. IMDb says this came out in 2015, but the release date in Japan was 2016.
Oh, we're going to talk about this?
No, I was just curious. Like,
well, dude, I think there was maybe some sort of festival showing, and they're using that debut as the year.
So, like here in the States, we have Comic-Con, right? And that's a huge thing. Let's just say San Diego. They have stuff like that in Japan, and what do they call it? It's not like MangaCon, right? I mean,
no, because first of all, manga just means comic, right?
Comic, okay.
But I mean, I don't. Maybe it is, but I don't. I'm just not like an expert on this at all. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, hell yeah, they love their conventions over there too.
Yeah,
yeah. In fact,
I bet it's even bigger there than here.
Like one thing I know about is like Doja Nishi. I don't know if I'm getting that right. But like copyright is a little bit different in Japan. So like people can actually use other people's IPs and, create their own little offshoot stories.
Seriously?
Yeah. So let's like some random guy, let's say I'll use it like a Batman here.
Okay.
Some like random guy can like make a Batman comic, create like 100 copies of that, go to one of these conventions and then just like sell them out. But they'll also do like their own original work too.
Yeah.
And that's like tame stories, but like porn is also a big part of that, like Doja Nishi type of thing too.
Oh.
So yeah, like these conventions are like a really good place for sort of like up and coming artists to, make their own works and sell them there.
So they can take a character like you were saying, like, our version of say Batman in Japan, and they don't get in trouble for that?
I don't think they do. I'm not an expert. I mean, if anyone does and they're listening to this would be a good opportunity to let me know.
That's interesting.
But this really isn't something I've looked into. It's just like, over the years of reading stuff.
So as we've talked about in the past on the podcast, you read a lot of manga.
I wouldn't say read a lot. I will say in like the past few months I have been.
Okay.
And on this very same podcast, I've mentioned, I think, Goodnight Poon Poon and One Piece.
Okay.
But I'm also reading like this volleyball manga called Haikyuu, this other thing called Promise Neverland. There's, I'm like slowly getting more and more into it.
All right. Because this is based off of a manga that I think, and maybe you have it up like 2009 to 2017. Does that sound about right?
It had a decent run and it produced 22 volumes. And it lasted, I think, for 6 or so years. I think it was from 2009 to 2016.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, at 2009 to 2017. So an 8-year run, 22 volumes, maybe like 100. Maybe like 200-ish chapters, 180. So, it's a lot.
So, I'm curious because, the movie came out in 2015. That is about a year or two before it ends. So to me, it's like, I don't know. Did they just not catch it at the height or what?
I think you and I were talking about this in like a car ride when we were grabbing food or something. But a lot of like anime and live action movies and live action TV shows, when you have like a manga, those are usually as advertisements for the manga, because what they want to do is they want to sell the actual volumes, the books that they package up,
Yeah.
So it's obviously they're still going to make money off of that. So it's even more attractive for them to make money here by putting a little investment into it while also having it serve as a way to get people to buy the books.
So would you say like the film itself is not is almost secondary to the manga?
Yeah, but I was super impressed with this movie just by its production. I thought it looked really, really good, and a lot of love was put into it, and clearly a good amount of money too. I mean, the special effects, especially that one kill at the very, very end, where it was just like this explosion of like blood and gore or whatever, it looked amazing. So it this doesn't seem like some sort of cheap cash in to sell a book. This seemed like a movie that came from like a really, like, you know, someone really wanted to make this.
Yeah. What was the movie? And again, you had bought this for me one Christmas or Father's Day, and I read it, which I thought was pretty good. What was the Spiral?
Yeah, Junji Ito's Uzumaki,
which I enjoyed. And you said that it made a movie, and I looked at the trailer. It was bad.
Yeah,
and it was really bad.
That's a really good contrast. I think that movie was made a few years prior to this, maybe 5, maybe. So I know it was like post 2010s a little bit. And yeah, the special effects looked really bad. And the trouble with, I think, any of Junji Ito's work is you're kind of, I think maybe the most analogous maybe would be like Cronenberg, where there's like a lot of horror and like body dysmorphism. I hope I got that word right. Where like there's body horror is where the frights are coming from.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard to do if you're not doing it maybe practical or just having really, really good digital effects. Yeah. And the digital effects were really bad just from that trailer. So
I didn't watch
did not work.
It did look really bad.
But obviously in like his artwork, you've got like a lot of detail. You can do like a full panel. Like comics are really cool because you can kind of like change the way a panel is drawn, how big it is, how small it is. So, you know, when you have like a full page, imagine like Tarantino's Hateful Eight or any of his other movies where he's used 70mm film, you go from like 35 or digital to 70mm and everything feels bigger. Comics can do that on a page by page basis just by structuring the panels differently.
Yeah.
So like the way the medium works, it's interesting. So when Junji Ito dedicates like a full page to like some guy's body twirled up in a spiral in like a basket, that's like, it's very like, it makes you feel like weird.
I did feel
tingly.
Yeah, reading it, it's been a year or two when I read it, and I did feel exactly like you're talking.
Yeah, and if your special effects aren't up to snuff, it's gonna feel out of place and silly.
This so I come to you a couple of weeks ago, I think, and I said, "Hey, I want to do an episode, some zombie," and you would come back with like 10 or 12 movies, which, to be honest, all of them looked really good. Some I'd heard of, some I didn't. And this is the one I think that kind of jumped out. I'm like, hey, let's check this one out. I didn't know much about it. I will say, I mean, I didn't ask you what you thought. I liked it. I did like it. I didn't love it. And we can, as we go along with the episode, I can tell you the problems I had with it. And it wasn't a lot. I mean, like I said, it's a good movie. It runs a little long. Did you feel it was long? A little over 2 hours?
The length makes a lot of sense to me. So I haven't done any research, but so my initial impressions, and this will be funny for how it stacks up to when I actually do take time to look into it. I just haven't had time since we've watched the movie. Is that they condensed maybe the entire first arc of this series into 1 2-hour movie. And I don't know how long that is, but I imagine it's quite a bit because the pacing gets a little weird in the forest and in the rooftop stuff. Right?
Yeah.
It almost seems like we're missing like a lot of character work and
I agree.
Stuff. So that's my like speculation. And I'm interested to see, because I actually plan on reading this now. I liked it enough to maybe want to buy it and read it.
I think, yeah, definitely.
Because because even the movie ends in like a spot where like, okay, there's still more story here, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's so I totally agree. If we're just talking like purely pacing and the length of the movie, but the specifically like the 2-hour length, yeah, they probably crammed like a whole bunch, cut a bunch of stuff, and they were still left with like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably why, and I think that's a totally valid complaint. You know, they just wanted to do too much with too little time, and That's mostly why you see like this type of stuff. They're usually like anime or live action shows because they've got the time to like not cut anything.
True. Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, for animation, you could just make a series out of it and you're not rushed or, you know.
Yeah. And you've got like 4.5 to 5 hours in like a 13 episode series. They like do all the stuff you want to do. I mean, there's still cuts and stuff happening because sometimes they want to do too much in that amount of time. But valid complaint. I can't argue with that. And even I find it a little bit weird. But I think I'm more forgiving of it because I liked so much of what the story was going on that I was like very quickly able to forgive, you know, stuff that was clearly cut. I forget the girl's name. Is it Hiromi or is it Hitomi?
Hiromi. Yeah.
Hiromi's like, she's kind of like half zombie,
which they never explain.
Right. And I imagine if this story continued, or maybe there was stuff in the forest that kind of explored more of what was going on with her, that we would have understood what was happening to her a little bit better. It's very clear, but I still wanted to explore that idea a little bit more because she's obviously super strong and able to kick some ass.
But why? See, that's the question is why? So she's still like, yeah, she's almost like, yeah, like half zombie, half human. But why? I mean, we find out, 30, 40 minutes into the movie, she had gotten bit by a baby. And so this was a couple days before all hell broke loose. And so, and it definitely broke skin. I think it was on her neck. And she had, I think there's a line where she had mentioned, well, perhaps the baby was breastfeeding. And then if that was the case, then the baby could have got it from the mother. And then once the baby bit Hiromi, it would have transferred it. But again, why is she half?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, why is she super? I think as the movie plays out, we do see that some of these zombies are almost superhuman, right? More so towards, I'd say, the last 30, 40 minutes of the movie. So I guess I see that part of it, but why is she half it and half not? And that it's never explained. And maybe their intent was to explain it. Maybe they filmed it and it got cut. I don't know. I was trying to figure it out because they never talked about it. And those are the things that I want to know about,
Yeah. And so to speak on that, we have like a scene where we see that she has a heartbeat. So she's not actually dead, right? Like
True.
she's not like a zombie, but has more sentience than the other zombies.
Yeah.
She's still like essentially human, but she's been infected by the virus.
Yeah.
And also the virus is called like ZDN or ZQN.
ZQN. Something like that. Yeah.
And they call them like CQNs or something.
Yeah.
Zombies.
Yeah.
Now, again, so I think we've talked about like the definition of zombie on this podcast, but just to go over it again, when we say like zombie, we're talking like in a very loose sense. If it's like dead, quote unquote dead, but it's like moving around, there's little to no sentience. We usually consider that a zombie. So even if these don't like necessarily fall under like a very specific definition of a zombie, like you're the Walking Deads, right?
Sure. Yeah.
We're going to call these guys zombies because even though they're talking and they're moving around and they're kind of going by like the Dawn of the Dead type of situation where they're kind of like falling back in their old habits and things that if you were to distill into like one little thing, that's who they are. So they like to shop. They're an athlete, whatever, we're going to call these guys zombies just for like the sake of keeping things simple. So, these zombies are kind of strong. They can talk, which I'm super into that stuff.
I was into that too. Yeah. I liked that.
Yeah. Because it creates like some like scenarios that are very like, whoa.
Yeah. Because, these types of movies, let's just say zombie movies, have been done a million times. So what are you going to bring new to the table that we haven't seen in a million other movies? And yeah, they were talking, and that kind of threw me off. I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of it's cool and creepy,
Yeah, and I know we both seen Day of the Dead, and Day of the Dead introduces.
You mean Dawn of the Dead?
No, I mean Day of the Dead.
You've seen Day of the Dead?
Yeah, I've seen Day of the Dead.
Okay, all right, cool. Which is good because this kind of reminded me a little bit of Day of the Dead.
And Day of the Dead, they have talking zombies.
The main
Return of the Living Return of the
Oh,
Living
yeah.
Dead, there's talking zombies too.
There is the scene where, what is it? Send more cops or something like that in Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, one of the greatest jokes in any zombie movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
So like it's not like this idea hasn't been done before, but I do like it whenever I see it because I think like zombies are more scary when they're mostly gone.
Yeah.
But there's still that trace of humanity left in them because when that's entirely gone, I think that's less scary because there's like this destruction or loss of humanity that when it's completely gone, you're dealing with nothing but a monster. But when there's just like a shred of it there, it's almost like you're still seeing that person. And so now it's harder to like deal with the threat to kill them or whatever.
I agree. It is. It does. It feels more eerie when there's that element that's still left.
Yeah.
Since we're talking zombies here, and you and I have never talked about this before, right off the bat, your personal opinion, is it creepier for you for them to be walking really slow or running really fast? Which in your I just want your opinion.
I think more
scary or more menacing to you.
I'm gonna go with what's the bigger threat, and fast moving zombies are scarier. I think when they're just lugging around, you're removing a lot of the potential danger that a zombie poses. And I get it. Like the slow walk is to like reference like the lethargy of being like a typical consumer, right? You're sitting on a couch, like drinking a frap or whatever on a TV. You're going to move slow. It's like playing into that idea. But when it comes to like just, okay, if we're just going to look at zombies as like a monster, like a threat, something that's going to kill you, if they're going to do it, like they're going to move fast. they're going to get to you probably like sooner or quicker or easier. And that's, I think, scarier.
To me, it's, and I don't disagree with what you're saying.
And I think you're going to go, I think your answer is the slow walk because that's classic zombie.
No, the thing is, okay. So yes, I was going to kind of say something like that. To me, it's a generational thing. Romero he always did slow walk. It's, everything's slow. Even when Tom Savini remade Night of the Living Dead, he did the slow. I think even Return of the Living Deads, I think they were slow as well. Maybe a few of them a little quick, but when that I would say the last, say maybe 20 years, maybe, it's a generational thing where they've made them fast.
Well, I think
they're both to me is scary. Because I grew up on the slow, I think I gravitate more towards that. But what you're saying is it's right on. I mean, you're not wrong.
There's like a viciousness and predatory thing that's
predatory.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like lost when they're just like slow moving. Like they feel more like they're out to like hunt you and kill you when they're like running at you.
Yeah.
But these guys kind of do both. There's like some slow moving zombies and some fast zombies, and some of them move really weird.
Which I like. Some of them threw me off. We'll talk. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Oh, before we forgot to say spoiler alert. So
yeah,
it just goes without saying we're going to spoil the movie. So if you haven't seen it, and you can always turn off the podcast and then watch it and come back.
Right. The first zombie we see is his girlfriend.
Tico.
Teko.
Teko. Teko sounds like a video game.
It's spelled Tekko. Teko.
Is it Teko? Teko. He says it like a million times, so we should have remembered the name right.
Yeah. So that's the first zombie we see, and I feel so bad. It's just a shitty situation. But she gets bitten or something. It's off screen, and then the next time we see her after they have a fight, she's a zombie, and we get like this really cool scene of him looking through like the letter opener on the door, and her body just kind of like convulsing, doing all this weird stuff, moving around in like a weird, like joints bending where they shouldn't like bend.
Which is a new take on this, which I enjoyed a lot. And what I've seen a lot in Asian horror, They contort bodies a lot. Like it's a thing, but I think it's very entertaining and I love it. It's sad to me because, Hideo is like he's just an assistant. He at one point was supposed to be like the next it guy, and 15 years later he's just nothing. And he's just like he says, he's just an average guy. And I kind of feel sorry for him. But what happened those 15 years is just because he just never had confidence in himself. And so you can see it in this relationship with his girlfriend. She's done. She eventually boots him out because, look, you're not going anywhere. You write these mangas and they're never picked up. You're just as an assistant. They live in I don't know. I can't speak for Japanese housing. It looked like a shithole. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's far worse places in Japan, but this looked bad, right?
Yeah, like this, I think the equivalent would be like the tiniest studio you can find in like New York or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. And just, so she's unhappy. She finally boots him out because how are you going to make rent? He's got a shotgun, which of course we know is going to come into major play later on in the movie.
All right, just real fast. I love that they introduced the shotgun basically right at the start of the movie, and it's not used until like hour minute 145. I love that so much. Like it gives you Chekhov's gun, and it just doesn't use it until like the very, very end.
Yeah,
I love that. It creates like this buildup.
I was like, well, why is he not using this thing? And I always thought like, well, he has a license for it. He has a permit or whatever you call it. And which led to you and I talking about like culture, in Japan, because you didn't see any guns other than his shotgun. So it's like, are they not allowed to have something like that? But as the movie went along, I'm like, does he just not know how to use it? Is he terrible at it? Well, we find out later on in the movie, no, he's not. He's really good. Yeah. But why wasn't he,
Like he's a skeet shooter, I think.
And you have to be skilled for that,
It's so great because whenever we see like a zombie movie or TV show, it's always shoot the head. And, most people have not ever trained with like a gun. Shooting the head like once every now and then, you can probably do that. But like back to back to back to back to back, probably not, dude. Like even it just wears on your hands too if you've ever shot a gun. Like there's a lot of force to that. You're going to get shaky after some point.
Even your best, shooters, dude, when you have a moving target, how are you supposed to hit it? These zombies are fast. They're contorting. They're all over the place. And you somehow got to be able to hit them in the head. That's tough.
Yeah, and so the explanation that he's a skeet shooter, that this is his hobby, he's pretty good at it. I love that explanation. That he's just able to do it over and over and over again, hit every single shot, and then really have this moment of redemption throughout, what's been like the last 15 years of his life. And so you can't have a movie with just like a cool idea and it not be about anything. And we've talked about this before. This movie is definitely about failure. What it means to overcome your inadequacies and do something with, what you have.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is about. And it uses this, the backdrop of the zombie apocalypse to, bring up this character and have him triumph before he has not. And that's the gist of the story, overcoming those failures. Now, very early on in the movie, right after he's been kicked out, he opens up like a weekly serialized comic book or something like that, something to that effect, where it has like an issue of a comic. And we can actually date this story based on that comic book issue. And I wanted to do that before we came in here, but I didn't have time because I know exactly it has to take place between like 2009, 2013, right? Because I know that's when that chapter of this one comic was released. And the comic he's looking at is actually Goodnight Poon Poon, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And then like some episodes a long time ago, and I said I was reading it, and I was shocked to see that. I was like so surprised. I got so giddy, but it's so like thematically relevant because Goodnight Poon Poon is about like failure as well and what it means to live with abuse and live in just be like a normal member of society with your own baggage. And that's like, I am a hero.
That's right. That's him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nails him. Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. And that's why this movie, I don't know if that specific comic was also referenced in the manga for I Am a Hero, but the fact that whoever made this made that connection between Goodnight Poon Poon and I Am a Hero, it just like kind of like it's just another like reason why this movie was like a lot of care was put into it. When you have like works tying to another work that's also within like the same motif, like they did their homework, they know what they're doing, they're within the medium and they're like in tune and like that pulse or whatever. And so like I love that. And I think this, like just that there like elevates this movie for me a bit, along with like all the other cool things it does. And so when we're talking about like pacing and it being a little long, like I'm able to forgive all that stuff because that core story works and there's a huge payoff at the end and all the setup like and it forces that payoff and it works,
Yeah.
So I'm kind of cool with all that stuff. But I thought that was really fun. And I was really happy to see that.
I love the scene because I don't read the manga. I read the one that you'd bought for me and I liked it, but I loved how he was sitting at the park bench and over to I think his right looked like maybe a homeless man. And he's in the middle of the night and it's like he's looking over there and almost kind of really deep into thought, like, holy shit, where did my life go? And then he pulls open this manga just to kind of see, like, you can almost tell like he's ignored what's out there because, I don't know. I'm not sure why. Maybe he doesn't want to use it as some sort of like, I don't know, crutch or I'm not sure, but he picks it up and within a few seconds, he's like, damn, this is good. And and I got a kick out of that because he knew immediately what's good and what's not good, but has not been able to get over that hump in 15 years.
Yeah. And just a little bit more backstory. So Goodnight Poon Poon was released, serially. So every week and not your big comic book, like publishing books like Shonen Jump or whatever. And so it had like its own special thing. And so obviously when we looked at it, that was like a small magazine or something. From what I've heard that Goodnight Poon Poon, which like it did not sell well at all.
Oh.
It was actually kind of like regarded as a failure, which kind of like goes into like its own story and I Am a Hero, right? Because what it's commenting on, it's actually going through too. I've actually, I've just heard people joke around that Goodnight Poon Poon was actually responsible for this magazine's like ultimate demise because the magazine would eventually like cancel publishing.
Oh no.
Yeah, I highly doubt it's all on this one comic's fault. Yeah. But people mention that like Goodnight Poon Poon was serialized far longer than it ever should have been, right? So I just think that's another funny little tidbit that even the thing he references that's really really good is also not selling well. And if he was writing it, he would actually be going through like, okay, people like my thing, but no one's buying it. Right. Yeah. So just a whole nother level of meta commentary going on there. I don't know if it's intended, but it's there, know? So, yeah.
That happens a lot these days, right? I mean, not even in, say, another country here. I mean, you could have a brilliant television show that no one watches.
Yeah. Right? Breaking Bad, like for like its first 4 or 5, I think first 4 seasons, like season 5, part 1. They had like less than like 5 million people watching it.
What was oh my God, you're gonna kill me for this. What was the television show with the Jason Bateman that just like people? It was a great show, but people just didn't watch it.
Arrested Development.
Yeah, Arrested Development. Like, it wasn't a huge show.
No.
Like I could argue, Community wasn't a humongous show like ratings wise, but it's a really really good show.
I can't tell you the numbers. I can tell you that if I had to make a guess, since it was on Fox and it was at a good time slot, at least for a little bit, that it probably had like numbers that The Office would eventually have. But because you weren't getting like the crazy numbers that like Seinfeld or like Friends were getting when you're getting like 20 to 30 million, then it seems like a failure. Yeah. But people loved the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development, even though people were starting to like get, like it wasn't as good in season 3 as it was in season 1 and 2, So yeah, like there's always this like idea where people can make really, really good things and then not sell. But it's selling is kind of the only reason to make the thing. And it's always kind of a bummer. I think that's a different discussion for like a different episode.
No, I mean, it is. But I mean, since we talk horror, and I mean, I can't tell you how many horror movies that have come out and they didn't make any money, and then 30, 40 years later they're a classic, and everyone knows about them, and they've made so much money over the years, but at the time the critics said this, and no one went to the theater, and you know, it's just kind of funny how people are, and this perception of what's good and bad, and I don't know, man. I mean, to each their own.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't complain or criticize critics or blame critics for like the response to like a movie's box office. I mean, just look at Aquaman. I think that got like middling reviews, but it's the biggest DC movie ever. You know?
Yeah, I saw it. It was okay. It was okay. It was. I mean, you know, I like James Wan, but I mean, I wish he would just stick with horror. I know that's not going to happen, but it was just okay for me. But yeah, it made a shit ton of money. I mean, there's a lot of movies out there that make a shit ton of money, and they're just like, I watch them and go, okay, well, what's the big deal? Like, I just didn't get it, you know. But again, everyone's different, man. You know, what I like, you don't like, or vice versa, or sometimes we're on the same page, sometimes we're not. It's just the way it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, you know. Mm-hmm. But anyways, so where do we want to kind of jump in on this? We know the whole city of Tokyo is kind of getting taken over.
Yeah, I'm not sure where we're at. Does it say Tokyo? Either way, we're in like a big city in Japan.
Yeah, I didn't say Tokyo. I think I read Tokyo. So if it's not Tokyo, then we'll look like idiots. But I'm just going to say it because that's what it said. It said Tokyo on something I read. It said Tokyo. But yeah, man, this the kind of the typical, right, zombie stuff, right? Something, it's like you get like some sort of virus, and then you get sick, and then it makes you do crazy shit, and you're attacking people, and you're trying to eat them, and then it just spreads. It spreads like a wildfire, and it did. You know, it got his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend Teko.
Yeah,
that was cool. I enjoyed that scene inside their little tiny crappy apartment.
Let's talk about that real fast. Yeah, just real quick. I think you and I both like Evil Dead, right?
Oh yeah.
Evil Dead 1 and 2 are both really good movies.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is, I think, like one of the best ever.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it has its own form of zombies called Deadites, and they're not really zombies, but, you know, it's kind of like they're being possessed by a different spirit, and they get all like necrotic-y and like scary and demony, right?
Yeah. Love that
and
stuff.
This very first zombie we see with Teko, the dead Teko, reminded me so much of like an Evil Dead Deadite, because she's like talking. She's like complaining about like she's the unhappy one.
Yeah.
And she's almost like getting revenge on Hideo. And the way she moves, the way she flies around, the way she bites and she loses her teeth. Yeah. Like there's almost like some super dark humor going on underneath the scene, even though I never felt like laughing, you know?
No, I didn't either. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It felt very Sam Raimi. And like as soon as that scene happened, and then, you know, it goes through like this tragic way of her dying, where he's got his like newcomer trophy that he got 15 years ago, and it's shaped with like a pointy tip, and she lands on that. Like there's just some like crazy Shakespearean dramatic irony happening on here.
Yeah.
And it was like when that scene ended, I knew that I was in for like a good ride, because all this setup and payoff is happening, and it's also like hitting like spots I wasn't expecting in like a zombie movie. And like it's hitting like all my like horror bones too, where you've got like this crazy monster coming at you
in this small little space. This is all happening.
Yeah.
And he has to try to, and she's contorting like, I mean, all these it was, I love the scene where she's chewing on the door. Because again, I've never seen this. Not to say it's never happened. I just had never seen it. She's chewing on the door, and as she's chewing on the door, she's losing all her teeth. And it comes into play in a little bit, because when she goes to bite him, she can't pierce his skin. We know you get bit in a zombie movie, you're screwed. And she can't pierce the skin. And this is great. I'm enjoying this, you know, not to mention just the entire scene with what she's doing, and in this tiny small space, and then again the trophy. It's just like it's a little icing on the cake for that scene, you know. And you know, I think he ends up back at his I don't know, office. What do you call this? I mean, where do they write their manga?
I mean, this is probably an office for him. It's probably like a just an apartment workspace that the actual manga artist rents out.
And it
as
looks
an
like
office.
you got the boss, and then you got, I think it's Hideo and three other people, and as he comes in, he sees one of his coworkers just beating one of the other coworkers with a bat. This was bloodier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't expect it to be this bloody.
Yeah, it gets hardcore pretty fast.
It was pretty bloody, like
especially after the girlfriend scene where there's like some pretty crazy stuff, but it's not like super bloody or anything. Obviously, I think like teeth falling out and stuff it might get you there, but I think that's more like a prelude to just how gory this movie can be.
Yeah, it got pretty gruesome.
Between the teeth and this scene that we're talking about, like this movie is just saying like, yeah, we're just gonna do whatever we want. Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to be a little tame, I don't know why I thought that, but I just did. And
I think it's just because as Americans, we have like this outward appearance of Japanese culture being very like, white collared shirt, black tie, very like put together and proper.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think you're right. Yeah.
When you see like, again, this is as an American where like Japanese culture is very, touristy. We only know like the basics, right? You think that. So then when you see like, disheveled man, hoodie, and then you've got like this fat guy, going to town with a bat on, like basically coworkers he doesn't like. It's like, oh shit, I forgot they're just like us, and that's just like this cultural divide that happens that we kind of forget. We get kind of like wrapped up in this idea that we're not all just the same people.
You're right, because I'm so guilty of it. Like, to me, everything is, because it's another country, I've never been there, I've never experienced it of it, it's just so foreign to me. And I think some of my, so I guess I don't know, some of the things I think they're not, what are they based off of, Rick? Are you basing it off of some movie or television show or something you watched? I mean, so it's just like, it's almost like a stereotype or something. You just don't, and that's, I think you're right on the money. I thought, oh, they're not going to go so crazy bloody on this. It's in Japan. Oh no, they did.
Yeah, and I think there's also like this question of, or like this topic of censorship, with like sex in Japan. You don't really see like genitals in Japan, right?
No.
It's like a law to censor all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what about like blood and gore? Like if you're not accustomed to that stuff, you'd be like, oh yeah, they're just going to censor that too. They're going to hold back. But they don't here, right?
No, they don't at all. Which, yeah, was good though. I mean, we have this office scene. Everyone's dead, basically. Even the guy that was beating everyone with the bat, he'd gotten bit. He turned, and yeah. So, Hideo gets out of there alive, luckily. But now all hell is broken loose, man. The whole city is, you can tell they're the people that are okay and the people that are not, and they're all starting to be attacked. And I always love, there's always a scene where there's someone with headphones on and they're just oblivious to everything that's happening.
What's funny is there's like 30 of those people in this scene.
There is. It's like shit is going crazy. You got airplanes up in the air. It doesn't feel right, but I'm just going to go ahead and listen to my music or whatever I'm doing. Hey, maybe they're listening to the Ear for Fear podcast. I don't know. But so he makes his way out of town with, looks like a very important businessman, and this is going to be Hiromi. And
she's not the businessman, but there's a schoolgirl that kind of like bumps into him, and
but he makes his way out of town in a taxi with Hiromi, this businessman, in the taxi driver.
Just real fast, because you blew right past this, dude.
I did.
What? So that scene in Shaun of the Dead where Simon Pegg. I'm sorry. Simon Pegg's character is kind of like walking like on his normal like work day routine.
Yeah.
He's going to the convenience store, he's going down the street, and it's just like it's like post mayhem, blood splatters everywhere, people are running and shit. It's already happened.
Yeah.
We get that scene, but like as it's happening here, and there's like other zombie movies that do this. Nothing like really stands out in the way this movie does, because it's just like immediate mayhem. We're like obviously at this point where like the virus is like hitting like almost critical. It's approaching critical mass. Where now like everyone is starting to get infected, and those people who are infected are now like attacking other people. And we're right at that point, and we see all of it. We see people getting bitten. We see people like walking out of their homes. We see a bunch of confused people not quite realizing what's happening. We see cars crashing, people jumping on other people, people running around. We see like there's already like a military response. So there's like military like planes and shit, like helicopters like going on above. Obviously, as some sort of like, we don't know yet if it's like an evacuation for important people or if they're like planning to like put soldiers down here, right? Because we're immediately going to like Mount Fuji, like outside of like town and cities. But you see all this happen. It's not one shot, which is fine. Because in like Shaun of the Dead, it was like one shot, even though it's a totally different scene. But it's like, I think this scene is so special to me because it's handled so well and in a way that I find different than any other movie, because we're not just seeing our clueless protagonists experience all this stuff for the first time. We're seeing a bunch of other people experience it for the first time too. And we have like these little like very like brief interludes of like characters we're never going to see or like see again or hear the backstory. But we know something happens. Like we saw like a knife in one like zombie walking out. Clearly they just killed someone. We see like a naked zombie basically like in her underwear.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we see like a cop or we see like a window wiper guy fall out of the sky, you know, and onto a car. Like we see all like there's all these like tiny little stories happening like outside of our view that could have like had their own like 15-minute short or something like to accompany this movie. And they would have been great, you know, and this is like a 15 minutes between like him coming out of his apartment and then his office and then the taxi stuff. That's like 20 minutes or something. And it's awesome. I think if you don't want to watch this movie and you just want to watch like the cool zombie stuff, watch the stuff starting with Tekko through the office and through like utter mayhem in the city. And you've got like maybe one of the best zombie short movies ever.
You know what I liked here is how quickly it went from not so bad to really bad. Like he's walking through the city and you see a few people. It's not bad. And he turns the corner and it's nuts. I love those transitions.
Yeah.
You know, how quickly stuff can go south on you. And that's part of the scene you're talking about. And it was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And getting out, you know what? Do you remember War of the Worlds, the remake with Tom Cruise?
That's the perfect analogy. Yeah. That's like this scene.
Trying to get all this mayhem and trying to get out of town, and you know, and so that's what it kind of reminded me of. But yeah, this was good.
So one thing really fast, Tekko, this is important for like the whole movie. Tekko kicks him out, right? Like towards the beginning, right? But she like dumps his shotgun on him, right? So she like gives him like some comics, his like shotgun, like his gun case really, and then like boots him. So like throughout this entire time, like Hideo actually has his like shotgun and his skeet vest just like in a backpack, but he never uses it. He hasn't used it at this point. He doesn't even take it out. The only time we actually see him with it out is in his fantasies of shooting a zombie, but he doesn't actually do it.
Oh yeah, when he's visualizing doing it.
And the reason he gives is because it's illegal to like have an open firearm out in the streets of Japan. You can't do it.
I mean, I guess, yeah, it makes sense. But I mean, now when everything's going bad, it's like, okay, well, maybe that law is out the window. So they hop in this taxi. They're driving out of town. Who's this guy? He's not really important. He doesn't last long. I get the impression like he's some like important government person, right? I mean, the guy who's in the backseat with. Hideo's in the back seat, right? I mean, nice suit, just seems he's like important. I think he takes a phone call and he's talking about everything that's happening. So you almost get the impression that he's someone high up, or I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't last long because he's been bit. So he turns fairly quickly. And now you got the zombie inside this small little car, and you're trying to drive out of town when all of these different things are happening. And so he ends up biting the taxi driver, right? Yeah. This is a good scene too. I mean, I thought it was done quite well. they kick the guy out, the zombie, the important guy out, but he's still like attached to the door or something, and they're trying to, looks pretty good though. I mean, because I think Hideo gets pulled almost out of the car, and it's almost like he's dragging while the taxi driver is driving, and he's now bit, so we know he's going to change. So, and I think he does, right? And then Hideo's like to Hiromi, look, puts the seatbelt on because look, this ain't gonna end well, and then they crash. That's a gnarly crash scene. We know no way in hell you're surviving that. This just isn't happening, but they do. They survive it. I don't know how long they're out
and they're
for.
Basically unscratched too.
Yeah, maybe a couple's.
Whatever, I'm fine.
Yeah,
let's keep going.
For the sake of the movie, they're gonna survive and they're okay.
They should not have made the crash like 30 flips or something.
Dude, that was crazy.
It looked really good, but there's no way you would actually be okay after that.
No. That car would almost disintegrate.
They're going at like 100 miles per hour. They flip through the air like yeah. But it's like I'm on rails. I'm feeling good. I'm having a fun time so far, and I'm ready for like more what this movie's doing. I'm okay if like some executive or some guy was like, yeah, but wouldn't it be really cool if this happened?
Yeah,
I'm good.
It's fine. When they wake up and they come to, the whole freeway's backed up, and it's almost like they were the cause of it, right? Like there's no people to be seen. All the cars are crashed and stalled out on this freeway. And then I think they start, did they start walking off just to kind of get at, then they start looking at phones to kind of find out what's going on, and Hiromi's phone dies. But there was something about if you go to Mount Fuji, because of the elevation, the virus, what does the virus do? It just goes away?
Yeah, again, and this is like a time issue. I think the movie doesn't have enough time to explore these ideas, but I think there is probably like some rumor or maybe even just like pure disinformation to get people to go to like a higher elevation, either because someone did believe that or because now you can actually bring everyone, have a reason for them to go there and get them all in one place, both survivors and infected. And then to weed that out further. And that might like tie into like the government response. I know we've seen this in other like zombie movies where they try to get you on one spot.
Yeah. Almost like a quarantine section or something.
And so, the movie doesn't have the time to really explain that further.
No.
So all I can say is based on the movie, I don't know, but obviously that's not the case because they're probably near like the summit of Mount Fuji. I think they've climbed the mountain a little. I mean, not like the mountain specifically, but I'm sure they're at a higher elevation. But the virus seems to be okay. So, like, it doesn't seem to be true.
No, no. I mean, they're definitely. I remember them looking in the distance, and you could see Mount Fuji, and it looked like a ways away. But again, her phone dies, so they're not quite sure, but let's make our way towards Mount Fuji, and then I don't know how much time passes here, but I mean, Hideo still, I don't know, man. It's just that self-doubt, I guess. It's just been stuck with him for 15 years, but he's made it almost like this mission to protect Hiromi, but before he even met Hiromi, he couldn't do anything about it. She'd already been bit. So, but he's bound to protect her. But she turns kinda, sorta, right? I mean, out in the forest, out in this, it's in the middle of nowhere. She turns and, does he run off? I can't remember. Yeah, he runs off, and then he comes across a zombie, and she ends up saving him with these superpowers that she has. Again, not explained, but okay, but she's still part human, so he takes her with him, and they're on this quest to get to Mount Fuji, see if this is legitimate or not. I don't know how much time has passed because he went from clean shaven to kind of a scraggly beard, and that just doesn't happen in a couple days. That happens, it takes weeks for something like that to happen, right? That looked like weeks, or not a month or so of growing.
Yeah, it would have been nice if we had like a montage here or something. obviously, like there's probably like who knows, maybe there's like 10 chapters worth of comic book stuff happening here. I don't know. But yeah, they obviously cut a bunch of this stuff out.
Yeah. He's carrying her, but I think that's become a little much for her. He finds a shopping cart, and so makes their way. And again, tell me if I've forgotten anything, but they kind of make their way to this. What is this? This looks like this would be a tourist spot for Mount Fuji, like it's restaurants and shops. Maybe before you go to Mount Fuji?
Yeah, it's like an outdoor mall or something.
Yeah, like a outpost or something. What do you call that? I don't know what you call it. But it looked like a mall to me. Which kind of reminded me a little bit of Dawn of the Dead, because we also know that takes place in a mall. It did. It had, and I think it's almost impossible to do zombie movies and not refer back to previous movies. It had a Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead feel. I don't mind that. What it started to feel like to me was Walking Dead. And that's when I started to lose a little interest. It screamed of Walking Dead, especially with the whole, are we good guys? Like when they essentially befriend all of these people at this mall. And these are survivors, and these people are okay, but they're running out of food and they don't have any weapons, and you got zombies everywhere. And they're super nice at first because they wanted Hideo's, shotgun. And then they become really shitty people. And you saw that a lot in Walking Dead, and just
The Walking Dead. And now I pieced out before, big spoilers here, big spoilers. So just skip like 15 minutes if you don't want to hear this. I pieced out like right before, I think is it Negan kills Glenn?
Oh, yeah, I did too.
So I think most people even know about that now, just because everyone hates it so much. But like even at this point, like the group finding another group of people and then figuring out like, okay, they're okay. And then like, oh, they're not okay.
Yeah.
Was like tired already.
So tired. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
But I think that sucks, because I know anyone who's watched Walking Dead, and obviously a lot of people have seen The Walking Dead because it's made AMC a bunch of money. I think they were getting like more than 10 million people watching it for like a really long time every week. They've like poisoned this idea of like maybe the most interesting idea in like a zombie story, and that's like humans are the real monsters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when you see it here and you feel that way, honestly that like really bums me out.
Yeah,
because I think that's like a really interesting thing to follow, like this group hierarchy and group dynamic, and like how did this guy come to power, who doesn't like him and who wants to like usurp that. That's all like super interesting stuff to me, but we don't spend a lot of time on it, and you not liking it is like a bummer, but I get it. And we're also like going through like what could be a whole nother movie in like the span of like 30 minutes. So
I think
like
if I had never seen, and I stopped Walking Dead, I think at season 5, it just became so boring and predictable to me, so repetitive. And I apologize to any Walking Dead fans out there. They should have canceled that show years ago. And that's talking to true Walking Dead fans. So I don't even know what season they're on, 9 or 10. You should have stopped at 5 or 6. But I stopped at, I think, halfway through season 5. I was just done. I haven't gone back. I haven't revisited because I'm like, I've already seen it before in the previous 4+ seasons. It's like you're following the same recipe. I'm bored already. And so when we got to this, it just spanked of it. So it's not their fault. I mean, it just, if I had never watched Walking Dead and saw all that, I probably maybe felt differently. But Walking Dead kind of ruined it. I got bored for about 20, 30 minutes. And what didn't mean that there wasn't some kind of cool stuff happening. It just reminded me so much of it that I kind of I didn't check out completely, but I was just like, okay, I've seen this before. And so yeah.
That really sucks.
It does. And
because
it does.
You're letting like another work that's become tired, influence your opinion on this.
It did.
When it's otherwise, I think, quite good.
Yeah, no. And I agree with you. I didn't want it to at all, but because it was just there, and I couldn't help but compare it to that. And again, I was so bored with that.
Yeah, I never figured that The Walking Dead's mediocreness would like
I know,
like
right?
infect its way into like another movie.
I know.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But
anyways, but I mean,
But
you
yeah,
know,
they reach this camp. They have like their own community on rooftops. Hey, that's pretty smart because zombies don't know how to use a ladder or whatever, right? But they also have all that stuff gated off. They have their own community up here with like their own storage room and supply and rules and stuff. It's ruled by a real asshole.
what's his name?
But he's like a quiet asshole.
Is it how do you pronounce his name?
It's spelled Iura. I think it's
I
pronounced
thought
like
it was Lura.
just an I.
Oh,
I think.
okay.
And
So
it,
is that
it could be an L. It could be. I don't.
Lura?
I thought it was an I.
I think I looked it up. I thought it was an L, but I could be
Well, if
wrong
that's the
too.
case, it's Lura or Ura.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I heard Ura.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can tell immediately, right? This is a great part of filmmaking when you can see a guy and immediately know, yeah, something is going to happen here.
Huge kudos to the actor. He plays like quiet, like calm, polite, menacing really, really well.
Yeah.
Like he did a really good job.
He
here.
did. But yeah, I mean, you're thinking, okay, oh, we found all these survivors and stuff, but you kind of know it's like, I don't know, nothing's ever as good as you think it is, or however it seems. And I love the part where the one guy, what was his name, Mr. Abe or something, had to go get them supplies, and he's got the Rolex on, and Hideo says something about the Rolex, and they bring out the box, and it's just filled with Rolexes. I love this.
Yeah.
It was like an underlining message here, you know.
It's a quick callback to, him winning that award as a newcomer. And then another guy also won that award. And we see him when everything is still okay. And he's big and successful. Everyone knows his name, and he has a Rolex on his wrist.
Yeah.
So yeah, he sees this box of Rolex, and it's like, oh yeah, time to get what could have been mine,
Yeah.
So,
which will come into play later, which is pretty fun.
But we don't actually see him take anything, right? Because it'll be better if we see it later.
Yeah. But I love I love when I think it's Hideo, and maybe it's I think it's Mr. Abe, and they're on the top of the rooftop, and they're looking down, and they're looking at all the zombies and all the things that they did, like the one woman who actually was Mr. Abe's wife. She was a shopper, and so she's trying to get into the store, and she keeps just kind of banging her head against the door. And then we got this one guy, which is very eerie. The guy who was he was an athlete. Looks like he was probably a high jumper, but he's jumping like ridiculously high, and it's freaky looking, right? And then what did you make of the one zombie that crawled around like a spider? That was cool, but it was trippy. I'm like, what the F is that?
Well, as I think you and I are both big fans of the spider walk scene in The Exorcist.
Oh yeah.
Right. We talk about it every now and then.
Oh yeah.
It just pops up.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah. So seeing that whenever is like pretty cool. Like it's just so weird and like gross, and yeah.
But it was trippy how it just, the other ones you could say, okay, he was an athlete, she was a shopper. This person did this, who knows? This person did that. Okay. They're trying to do the stuff they did when they were still alive. What the fuck is the spider thing? What is that? I don't know. I liked it though. I mean, I guess maybe it's just better that there was no explanation for it, but it was cool. But I mean, I don't think it really takes long, right? For them to they're going to go on this little small mission because they're running out of food. I think they got like one more days of food left. And there's a map that someone drew. Here's where all the food is. That person is dead, but we're going to go on a little mission. And we're going to try to get the food. But hey man, we need your shotgun. And Hideo's, he's still, it's funny, man. He's still like, oh no, I have a license for this, and it's permitted, and it's illegal for me to get, all these things. And they're like, man, basically we're going to get that shotgun for you one way or another. And this is where we see this, Well,
we see the villainy come out.
Yeah.
Now. We're going to take the shotgun. We have Hiromi as a hostage. So you're going to do what we say. And you're like in an impossible situation. So, we're getting the shotgun.
And
they get the shotgun.
Yeah.
But not before, putting a bolt in Hiromi's head.
Yes, because this entire time while they're there, he looked like a ripped piece of fabric over her eye to hide the fact that her left eye, I think it's her left eye, she's half zombie here. So that comes out because it falls down. Hideo gets his ass whooped, and Hiromi gets a arrow into her head. The right side of her head, but fortunately it misses her brainstem. So she's still alive. She's
Yeah, and I think we see her later, and I think she's got like a bandage on her head. She probably heals. We don't see this, but I'm assuming she heals too.
Yeah.
We have no reason to think that because all other zombies don't.
No.
But we do see the college athlete guy, like his head is caved in, but there's no like external wound there. So it almost makes me think he does heal in a way. It's not super clear. But yeah, she's still alive. She still has a heartbeat, and that's where we actually see the doctor or nurse character. I forget if she was a doctor or nurse.
Sugumi?
Sure.
Sugumi Oda. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm trying to say it correctly.
I think you're trying
Sugumi
is
yeah,
good.
That's not bad though. I think I said that right. I like her. She's kind of a badass too with the axe.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of story we didn't see with her that I wish we did.
You could almost do like her own story on her, know, because she worked at a hospital,
and she would have been around for all that stuff that was happening.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So they go on this mission, but before this mission happens, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of deceit and backstabbing going on just with the group, because another guy gets the shotgun and now he's going to take over the group. And so they go down to downstairs into this, I don't know, this kind of like parking garage basement area to go find the food. And this is where it kind of reminded me of Day of the Dead a lot. But the one previous guy, the Lura, I don't know how you pronounce his name. He kind of hides off and then starts sabotaging this whole mission, man, because he's not okay with you taking over whoever this other character was. He starts turning on music. He starts opening gates. He just makes it almost impossible for them to survive this. He's just an asshole, but they do find the food.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a good thing, but I mean, most of them don't survive to eat it.
Yeah. This guy, I want to spend more time with him because he's like such like a chaotic, like evil or chaotic neutral character. Like he almost just seems to want to have a good time. So he steals the shotgun, and it's obviously that the original leader is a huge asshole, manipulative, abusive, all that stuff. So I don't really feel bad about him taking power, but it's then going into the hands of this other guy who seems to have like no regard for like safety or anything.
None at all.
Like he gets everyone killed.
I forget his character's name.
Yeah, but he's also so like interesting because he just wants to have fun. So there's no like vindictiveness, or there's no like real like allegiance to any one idea. As long as he's like entertained, it's okay. So I wish we had more time with this dude, but he, we'll get
to that. There. I mean, he is. I mean, I kind of like this character though. He's just unchained kind of, there's no rhyme or reason to the shit he does. That's not a good thing when you're dealing with all these zombies and undead, and you're in a sense trying to look out for the people that are still not infected. That's not a good recipe, right? I mean, you can't have that. But most of the people die off, right? A few of them get away. We come to see them later on, but Hideo is in the meantime. Okay, so in the meantime, this athlete guy, this high jumper, somehow jumps, 100 feet in the air. I don't know how many feet it is. Maybe it's not 100. Maybe it's 50, 70. I don't know. Lands on top of the roof. Okay. I mean, we've seen that they have some sort of superhuman abilities or strength. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess superhuman wouldn't be right because they're no longer human. So super zombie power. I don't know. Anyways, getting technical there, but he lands on top of the roof and within a few minutes, basically kills everybody. I think the only two that are still alive, sort of, is Hiromi, who's of course half zombie, and Sugumi. And Sugumi gets on the walkie-talkie and is, hey, you guys, please help us. And this is this is that struggling scene with Hideo that I think has doomed him for the last 15 years, right? Just second guessing everything, doesn't believe in himself. He may have at one point, he won that trophy, that newcomer trophy 15 years ago, but has done nothing since. And so it's just his lack of confidence. And so he's stuck in a locker because he went and hid. And he can hear the walkie-talkie and he keeps playing what may happen in his head, all these different scenarios if he comes out of the locker, because there's two zombies there. And he's played this over 50 different times, and every single time he doesn't survive. He dies one way or another. They get him. And so, but it's kind of like his moment to, I don't know, to maybe redeem himself, to shine. Jumps out of the locker, and this whole time that he's built this in his head, they're not even there. The zombies aren't even there. And it's like, I kind of like this because it's like, for 15 years, you've been have you been just keeping yourself down, dragging yourself down because of all these things that you're looking a million miles ahead, but that's not reality. Maybe those things just don't exist, but you've built them up so much that you've caused yourself to fail and so when he jumps out of this locker and they're not there, okay, maybe I can do this. Because sometimes you just need that one step, right? You're afraid of something and God, I mean, you've built it up so much that it's become like this humongous weight on your shoulders, and you can never take that one step. And sometimes that's all you need is one step. And once you take that one step, you realize I could do this. And that was it, man. Jumping out of that locker was all he needed. Because after that, he kicks hella ass, right?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And the whole movie in like a microcosm, because that one step ends up leading to him succeeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. No, it was just really well put.
Oh, thank you.
I'm almost impressed.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
usually I'm the one diving deep into like these.
Yeah, yes, you are,
yeah.
Man. But I don't know. I just was thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Hey, sometimes once in a while, some good stuff comes to me. But we know that Sugumi and Hiromi are making their way down the ladder. And they meet with the a-hole again. I don't know what his name.
Ura.
Ura. Okay.
Yeah, let's just call him Ura.
Ura?
Since we don't know that first letter.
I don't know Ura. Okay, I'm gonna say that wrong. Let's just say the one asshole guy.
The overalls guy.
Yeah, the overalls guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll call him overalls. It's so funny. We haven't even mentioned the fact they were calling Hideo Specs or Mr. Specs.
Yeah, in Japanese, there's a specific they have their own word for like four eyes or whatever, and it's Megane.
Megane?
Megane. Oh. So they were calling him Megane or Megane-san, which just means like four eyes, Mr. Specs, spectacles, glasses. It's in this case, I think it's used derogatorily, but you can also use it in like a cute way.
Well, in Insidious, one of the characters' names was Specs. Mm-hmm. And Darren and I were talking about that. I'm like, that's I wish I would have, because I wear glasses. I have horrible eyes, and over the years, when I was younger, more so, I would get teased because that's what kids do. Hell, I make jokes of it because my eyes are bad. I got thick glasses, but Specs would be a cool nickname. I can't use it though because we've now talked about it twice in episodes. But
yeah, I mean, I would still call you Dad, right?
Yeah.
But so I just want to say when they call him like Mr. Specs, it's not used in like, oh yeah, Mr. whoever. It's more like four eyes or something.
Okay, so it's not a compliment.
No, it's they're not giving him any respect whatsoever, right? They think of him as more like a prisoner. So
yeah,
that that translation doesn't really like hit the bill with whatever subtitles we had, you know?
Yeah.
So I just,
Yeah, I notice sometimes in the subtitles what we're seeing is probably not what's actually, because it's that translation of trying to figure out how to say this and say English, or how to put this in English that it translates to, let's say, us watching it. We've seen that in other movies. It's okay. I still understood what was happening. But we know Sugumi and Hiromi meet up with this guy, and he's just an asshole. Hey, I'm leaving.
I don't think we really said this, but he's also the one that split up from the group after he was like made as just like another pleb, and then he goes in and sabotages the entire mission.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit, but he's
responsible for the entire people dying. The decision making on the chaotic guy got everyone killed, but or his leadership ability and like in a trial got everyone killed. But this guy directly got everyone killed through his like sabotaging. So I hope that clears it up a little bit.
And he has no remorse. He doesn't care.
No, he just, as long as he's safe, he's got power, he's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they meet up with him, and he's taught. I mean, he's an asshole, but the way he's talking, it kind of doesn't. And then we realize he's been bit. And so he's now turning. This is where, like, we're doubting as to whether Hideo is any good with this shotgun. And now we find out, because Sugumi and Hiromi are, Sugumi's carrying Hiromi on because she can't walk or anything. And they're running away from this guy, and you can hear Hideo, hey, duck, and he takes him out with just a beautiful shot. Typically I don't care for CGI blood, but we know why they use it, because it's hard, especially in a movie like this. You got a lot of blood. How are you going to do that practically a lot, And so, but I didn't think the CGI was that bad.
I have literally zero complaints. Yeah. I wasn't even going to bring it up because I didn't even feel like it was worth a talking point.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know me, sometimes I do. But I thought it was pretty good. At least I'm trying to compliment it. I mean, normally in a lot of these movies, you can tell it's like, oh God, no, this was good. This looked good. And then we got, I think again, the other character's name, we got Mr. Rabe that shows up, but I can't remember the other guy's name. The guy, the kind of rebellion guy, the guy that kind of just, he just doesn't really, he just kind of does his own thing. They're all they all show up in this little area. It's almost like a big hallway, like a really huge hallway, almost like a parking garage hallway. And, this is kind of where they have to make their stand, right? You got zombies on each side, and they're coming at you, and they do their best to help, but really this falls on Hideo, man. This is him and his shotgun and his skeet shooting, and I think he said he had about 90 something shots, shells, and he made every one of them count, man. I mean, he was, okay, so he goes to get bit. And you think he's gotten bit, but he's got the whole armful of Rolexes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This was good.
It's really funny.
What do you think? Was this just simply it's a status thing for me? They're so expensive or do you think it was simply like, hey, I'm gonna put all these on because just in case I get bit? Do you think it was?
No, man, it was a direct response to that meeting with the successful newcomer that we saw earlier in the movie, and he had a Rolex, so I'm gonna have more than him
because his whole arm was full of Rolexes. But hey, man, it helped him out because when he was bit, they didn't bite through. But then it was holding him back though, because those are heavy, and you're trying to handle a shotgun. Those are heavy. The kickback on those are ridiculous. So he takes all of them off, and yeah, man, Mr. Abe doesn't survive. He gets bit, ironically, by his wife, who of course was, a zombie. He kills himself with an arrow. The other guy gets it. This was reminiscent of a couple of the zombie movies too, where you're being attacked and you got to like say 10 zombies around you. And if you shoot the main guy who's being attacked, the other ones will like die off. They didn't show it, but it was implied. So we got 3 people left, right? This is it. This is really three kind of humans. I mean, Hiromi's half human, half zombie, but this is really Hideo, you know. This is his moment. This is his moment of, you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is that like that scene in any comic book, manga, superhero movie, action movie, whatever it is. I mean, hell, horror movie, where, you know, you do your thing and you save the day. And
it's totally earned. We've had the entire movie to build up to him using the shotgun. And we've had the entire movie of him being a failure or referencing being a failure and then overcoming that. And we have like a 5 minutes of celebration of him doing the thing. And it's awesome.
He is just, he is mowing everyone down.
Yep.
With beautiful precision.
Basically
right?
didn't miss a shot. Sometimes even got like 2 in one shot. Yeah, he's good.
I love the, when he shoots the one zombie in the leg and it takes the leg off, but the zombie is still coming.
It's still trying to come at you, dude. God. And it's like slipping on the blood from the nub.
Yeah, on the nub, and it's oh my god, that stuff. I love this stuff. You know, it's like what could we do that's a little different that we haven't seen before? And these are the things that I love. Or the big fat almost sumo wrestler one. This huge, I mean, this zombie looked like it was 500 pounds coming at him, and he takes a shot. I think it takes half of the head off, but it's still coming at him, lands on him. He's got to do what he can to get from under this weight. And so, and I think in that process, he loses one of his shells, which of course will come to play in a couple minutes. But yeah, dude, it's just this montage of just, you know, it's like he takes out 2 on one side, he switches sides because they're coming from both ends, man. It reminded me of a video game. I don't play a lot of video games, but it had that video game feel. Because if I'm playing a video game and I got and I got, let's say I'm playing a zombie video game and I got zombies coming from each side. Okay, what do I do here? I got to come up with a plan. Okay, I'm going to take two out on the right, 2 out on the left, 2 out on the right, 2 on the, because then I'm still keeping this balance where they're not, you know, all come, you know, and that's what it reminded me. I don't know if it reminded you of like a video game. It totally spanked of a video game for me.
So, well, he wins the game, right? He basically kills every single zombie. And
is exhausted.
Some credit to Mr. Abe and the other guy and Tsugumi, because they killed their fair share of zombies too, like a surprising amount. It almost makes you think that they could have taken care of the zombie threat. They just worked on it, you know, like before Hideo and Hiromi even got there, right? Yeah, he's exhausted and he's like basically collapsing, right? But then, you know, another one pops up. the one unaccounted zombie that they're familiar with, and that's the college athlete zombie with his head, you know, caved in, and he just flops down into like the pile of zombie corpses. And this is the big boss. It's big boss time.
Big boss time. Yeah.
Yeah. And like so this guy's fast. He's tough. You know, he needs to like actually hit him. He's basically down to like 1 or 2 shots. He puts him in, and then the zombie starts running. And does he miss his first shot?
I thought he hit him with the first shot.
Oh, he hits him in the chest.
He hits him in the chest? Okay.
Hits him in the chest. Okay. And then he gets back up. He starts running back at him. And I think he gets him in the head. But does he get him in the head in this one?
I thought he did. I know he missed once. I thought he missed
Let's say he gets him in the head.
Yeah.
Boom. But there's still part of that head. Like this is the one zombie we've seen with like its brain kind of already like gone, like it's been pushed in or something around in its skull. So he like gets back up, starts running, you know, and then starts jumping at him. I don't know.
This is-
I'm getting all this like mixed around, but
it sounds about right.
But this thing that takes like 2 or 3 headshots, and he finally gets the last one. He saves the day.
There's literally one shell left.
One left over.
He
and that's
has
from
to scramble to get this shell. And he gets it, of course, in the nick of time and takes the zombie.
Yeah,
out.
I'm not good at telling stories. But he gets it, and then we get like the hero shot, the one that the movie's been playing or doing the whole thing, the entire movie to do, right? And we get like this like slow pan in. He puts on his hat. He's like, there's like a soft light behind him. He's like in silhouette.
This is great. Yeah.
Puts on the hat, and then we get the reaction shot of Hiromi as she says hero, and it's like,
yeah,
it's like ooh, tingly. This is the good shit. This is that all the good shonen like anime and manga and all the best like movies do with their heroes. They got that one hero shot. We've got the it's right here, and it nails it, dude.
Yeah.
I I was like laughing during the scene because it was just so good. Like it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
No, it is. It is, man. It's just it's a very fitting ending for, his journey that, we only get to see part of his journey. We don't get to see the 15 years prior, but it's leading up to this, and yeah, man, they hop into this car to drive off and what's that?
Well, okay, so before this, he's like introduced himself as Hideo, and I think he said twice that it's spelled with the characters that you would use for hero.
Yeah, yes.
So, and then he's in the car with Hiromi and Sugumi, and she gives her name. She says, "My name is so and so."
Yes, yeah.
And then she was like, "Well, what's your name?" Because at this point, he's only been known as Megane, right? Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Specs.
Yeah,
Mr. Specs. Yeah.
And he says, "My name is Hideo, just ordinary Hideo."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoo, it's not a problem for him anymore." It's he's not trying to like build himself up. He knows exactly who he is.
Yeah.
Boom. Second mic drop.
Yeah.
It's so good. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good. Nailed the ending. Perfect ending. Loved it.
And I loved it. Yeah, I did too. I mean, it's this moment where he's in the backseat. He's exhausted, but I think he feels that sense of, I don't know. I finally did something, but yeah, I'm just an average guy, man. That's all I am,
I'd almost disagree with that. I think, but what I love is that his acceptance of exactly who he is, right? He's Hideo. He's just Hideo, man.
Yeah.
Knows exactly who he is, what he can do. I mean, he's proven that he can surmount like impossible odds. I don't think he needs to feel down on himself, and I think you can read it that way, but I don't. I think this is just him coming to terms with everything. And it's, it almost brought a tear to my eye because of how like emotionally resonant it was for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it, man.
We all need that Hideo moment, really.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's good shit.
Yeah. No, this was a good movie. Talking about it after watching it, I'm just going to try to ignore the whole Walking Dead stuff because there is a good movie. There's a good movie here, a good story here too. So, acting was very good. Special effects were good. Music, I mean, it had all the elements, man. It was a good movie. I definitely would recommend it to someone who hasn't seen it. I tell you, man, there is a lot of great I'm gonna say horror movies because we're a horror podcast, but there's a lot of great movies, period, in other countries that just people aren't watching. We've done a lot of other country horror movies, and there are so many more that we can watch, and I'm excited because, like I said earlier in the episode, you'd give me that Post-it, and there was like 10 or 12, and I would almost argue all of them were in a different country. And I watched the trailers for all of them, and they all looked really good. They all had their different take on zombies, because I was in that like, let's do a zombie one, and you got me like 10 or 12 of them. And down the road, we'll hopefully do a couple more. But man, there's a lot of great movies out there that are not in the United States. So I would say if you're listening to this, man, watch it, tell a friend, go check out other movies, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Hopefully you've already seen the movie when you're listening to this, but if you haven't, it's a good ride.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. So anything else that I think we got everything.
I'm good.
Yeah, cool. Me too. All right. Hey, thanks for sitting back, listening. Come back, check us out. Hopefully everyone stays safe out there and take care.
Have a good one.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure you tell everyone about our Ear for Fear podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can keep up to date on news, events, and episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you come back and get an earful.